After a 3-year stalemate, Israeli-Palestinian negotiations commenced in July, in large part due to Secretary of State John Kerry's efforts. The talks reignited hopes for an end to the conflict, but in recent weeks have begun to break down.
The Israelis are really adamant about security and adamant about the settlements, maintaining them, and adamant about keeping East Jerusalem. The Palestinians have very little leverage. The only leverage they have is that, the U.S. Secretary of State Kerry trying to pressure them, and it may not work.
Issues most at a deadlock concern the status of East Jerusalem, border lines, and Israel's refusal to halt settlement construction on the West Bank. Hours after Israel released 26 Palestinian prisoners in late October, Prime Minister Netanyahu announced plans to build a new settlement of 1,500 homes. It is widely seen as an attempt to appease critics of the prisoner release. Israel is also anxious of the current U.S.-Iran talks, as Iran is a long-standing opponent of the Jewish state. At a UN General Assembly in early October, Netanyahu criticized newly elected Iranian President Hassan Rouhani.
Rouhani doesn't sound like Ahmadinejad. But when it comes to Iran's nuclear weapons program, the only difference between them is this. Ahmadinejad was a wolf in wolf's clothing. Rouhani is a wolf in sheep's clothing.
To some degree, they're taking it out on the Palestinian talks. That if they don't get what they want vis-a-vis the Iranian situation, they're going to create greater roadblocks in terms of the negotiations in the Middle East.
Ladies and gentlemen, Israel will never acquiesce to nuclear arms in the hands of a rogue regime that repeatedly promises to wipe us off the map.
The nuclear talks will cause tension between the U.S. and Israel, says Dr. Schwab, but not enough for the relationship to break down completely.
Israel can't afford to split with the United States, and the United States really can't afford to have a major split with Israel, but it'll cause tension. There's often been tension between Israel and the United States.
Not much has changed in U.S.-Israeli relations from 1967, says Dr. Schwab.
The United States has, with, as I say, some exceptions, the first George Bush and Jimmy Carter have been very, very pro-Israel. The Israeli-Palestinian issue is also a domestic issue in the United States. And, the Jewish population in the United States has a fair amount of leverage. And Israel has a lot of support in Congress. All U.S. governments have condemned the settlements as being illegal, as violating international law, but no U.S. government has been willing to do anything about it. So overall, the relationship has stayed pretty steady.
Talks continue, but neither side is optimistic about where it's headed.
They've been going on for about 4 months. They have about 5 months left. That's the time frame that Kerry gave them. And it's likely that nothing will happen, but in some ways it's just as likely that something might happen. You just don't know. It's hard to predict.
תן לי להגיד לך תשובה כזו. אני אתחיל לדמיין החיים האלו אחרי שיהיה שלום. למה אני לא נראה לי יהיה שלום, באמת. אין תקווה לזה. מה שאני רואה, אין תקווה, לא יודע.